Viewers in here watching, thank you for coming to the Esports Guru Talk Show. We do this on a weekly basis. Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, we talk about Call of Duty, and on the weekends, Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern, we have a League of Legends talk show. You can also visit our website, esports.guru, and also visit our sponsor's website, bossboxes.net. Use code GURU for your BossBoxes order. Today we are joined by Paul on my left. I'm sorry, my overlay, I don't have the names in there. Paul at COD Dynamite on Twitter. He joined us last week as well. And today we have a special guest from Australia, Roman on the right. So thank you guys for joining us today.
It's good to have you on the show, Roman. Glad you could come on. We appreciate you, especially with all the excitement you guys had this last weekend in Australia. I'll be glad to get some details and updates from you and talk about your team a little bit more.
It's a pleasure to be on the show.
So Roman, could you give us a little bit of a background about yourself, your position, and the organization that you're with?
Well, I'm a co-owner of Team Skyfire. Recently played on the weekend against Mindfreak. Pretty much we only just started a couple months ago. Yeah, that's about it really. Flying to the top pretty fast.
The entire organization started about a couple months ago?
Yeah, started back up. I had a falling out with other owners, and then we got it and started again.
Okay, so do you have other teams? So I know obviously you have a Call of Duty team. Are there other esports as well?
We only have CS at the moment, Counter-Strike, and COD.
Okay, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys basically, there was another team that was invited to the Call of Duty World League qualifier, and you guys bought that team, or you basically took them under your wing? Is that right?
Yes. The squad was before it was Skyfire, was called Original. That's obviously the same team. I worked with Hopi before, and he contacted me about Skyfire, and he was keen to join.
Okay. And so for those people that are in this audience that might not know, who are the players on the team?
Well, we got your captain, Hopi, and you have Rival, Vanish, and Dean.
Okay, and these guys, they're all Australian?
Yeah, everyone's from the eastern states in Australia.
Okay. So when you guys were, you guys took the original roster, right? And
yeah.
You knew that you obviously thought this team had a very good chance to qualify for the World League, and now they did qualify, and they did so, beating Mindfreak, right?
Yeah, that's right. They beat Mindfreak 3-2.
And I know. I think it went down to. Did it go down to map 5, round 11, or did you guys win by like 2 rounds?
They won. It was 6-4 in the end.
Okay, so it was still pretty close, but yeah, it was definitely an exciting match to watch because Mindfreak, I don't believe they have lost on LAN in Australia, or at least to an Australian team for maybe their entire existence, possibly.
Last time they lost was in ACL Sydney in Call of Duty Ghosts.
Call of Duty Ghosts.
Wow.
It's been a while.
Yeah. That's some history right there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Is that the same? Was it the same exact roster, or do they have at least? I think because before the show started, Paul was talking about they had been together since the beginning of last year. Did they have all of the same team members, or was it a little bit different? Do you know?
Then they had Naked instead of Dens at the time.
Oh, okay. You know what? I wasn't really following them at that time when he was playing, because now he's a caster.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he retired in the start of Advanced Warfare.
Okay. And so your roster, you guys, so you're a co-owner. Tell me about the Australian Call of Duty scene, or I guess the esports scene in general. I have a little bit of familiarity with it. We used to be associated with DoesPlay. We were associated with them for quite a while, and I know that they were hosting tournaments, and the other people in Australia hosting tournaments would be ACL. So have you seen growth in the Call of Duty scene in Australia? And what about since the beginning of maybe Black Ops 3?
Definitely with the console switch, a lot of the PlayStation players that didn't come over to Xbox definitely have shown that they can hang with some of our Xbox players, which is good. With that as well, Cybergame has come back. They used to run shows, like run all the competitions back in Black Ops 2, started Ghosts, and that's when Dustplay started up and started doing daily competitions and that.
Okay, yeah, and so does your team usually participate in like daily competitions, or what do Australian teams do basically to stay fresh? Do they scrim? Do they play in tournaments, or?
It's a mixture of both. It depends on what really is on at the time.
Yeah.
It's
what is the
mostly
online ladder you guys use down there, Roman? You guys have an online ladder like a Game Battles in Australia or something of that nature? I know ESL recently partnered with ACL Pro and ran that last Call of Duty tournament there 2 months ago. Has that produced any more, let's say, organization to the scene in Australia, New Zealand, or?
There has been more organisation growth in Australia. I've noticed that it's been about 10 or so that have started up in the last couple of months, which is good. Always good to expand the community like that. We don't really have a ladder. We just have daily competitions. We probably don't have enough teams at the moment to be able to do like ladders as such, because we're pretty small organisation, definitely with a new rule of being have to be over 18 to compete at the COD World League. Most of our players are underage at the moment.
So, with the amount of money this year, obviously, I mean, that should attract maybe
150,000.
Yeah, that is. Paul, I don't know. Do you have any numbers on what they had in previous years?
The total, by what I could see on esportsearnings.com, was $77,000 total to the Australian community made among Call of Duty players, by what I can see. And that's total. So
yeah,
I don't know if that was just in advanced. Yeah, it's just advanced warfare. So I mean, they're even behind players from Canada, such as Karma. So I mean, we could look at Australia, especially with the amount of teams and the teams that have had great showings at like COD World League, etc., or events that they've traveled over for. They're definitely falling way behind. But I think this will give them an opportunity to shine, right? With 8 teams being there, 4 from this qualifier, and like his team, like Roman's team, beat Mind Freak, and then 4 from the online qualifier. That gives you guys quite a few teams to be put on a pedestal, Roman.
Yeah, it's great for the community. The good exposure we're getting is going to be bringing in a lot of different sponsorships for us.
Can you think of another event that Australian Call of Duty has had is where 32 players will be shown? I know you guys had Puckett. He just recently joined Activision. He came down there and casted the Australian qualifiers, but 32 players in Australia being on a live COD World League stream. I'm sure you saw the numbers from the European stream, which is, relatively large for what they've had in the past. I'm sure the Australians seem to be the same way because a lot of these events don't run at the same time, but they're all advertised by the same people, right? Are they excited? Is your team excited maybe about opportunities, or are people contacting your team for maybe smaller sponsorships or gaming partnerships in you guys seen that you may not have seen before in the last month or two?
Definitely seen a growth in viewership on streams. Like when Skyfire played Mind Freak, we had 10,000 tune in, and then a lot of international companies as such are definitely working their way down here. It's really good for the community and stuff.
That's good. So you had 10,000 viewers. See, I didn't even know you guys had that many. So you guys hit 5 digits. I can't remember a time that an ACL stream on MLG or on Twitch previously ever had 10,000 viewers. Do you know of any off the top of your head?
No, I think the largest I saw was 2,000, I think.
That's good. Like, what time is it now in Australia?
Right now, it's 11:45 out in my time.
So you got to imagine a lot of the NA viewers do not get a chance to see. I can remember at times watching Australian streams, waking up at like 8 or 9 in the morning, right, to catch the finals that you guys events or the semifinals. So the time frame, especially for the large North American audience we have, is quite different. Now with you guys' team and like with Mindfreakin, and they have the same roster we talked about earlier that they had when they placed in COD Champs. Have you guys heard anything as far as the final stages of the COD World League? Are you guys, the players themselves, are they going to be able to stream more or have any support going to their streams or their individual accounts? As far as, I just want to speak on revenue-wise for the players, because I always worry about player income and player stability, right? And then we'll get to the organization next. What do you see for your players as far as maybe their social media following, maybe their income or revenue drivers that you're working with them to try to make sure they have a stable income going forward since you guys have qualified?
Yeah, definitely. We're looking at supplying them with equipment to be able to stream and record for YouTube, and that definitely a lot more people have started to watch Australian content for Call of Duty and
Good.
and other streamers in general. It's really growing down here at the moment. It's really good.
Well, it takes good owners and good management on a team to take those personalities. So find your personalities that mesh, right? And you can get fan interaction with and put them on the forefront. We'd be glad to have one of them on the show one day if you want to bring them forward or interview for an article or something of that nature. What do you see with the other owners? Are the owners really working in cahoots in the Australian scene or working together to try to see with this new endeavor? Because you guys have never seen anything like this down there, $150,000 in prize pool. Two questions. Are you guys working together to try to promote the Australian scene in general, right, to a North American or European audience outside of people who may already know you? And number two, do a lot of the Australian teams have contracts? And in those contracts, do they get percentages of the prize pool that their players may win?
At the moment, we do have a handful of organisations trying to help and grow the community via social media, YouTube videos, and all that type of stuff. With Viper streaming a lot now as well, he's an owner of Integral.
Yeah.
He's starting to get things going again, which is really good. At the moment, we not really too many contracts down in Australia at the moment, but that's going to change now with COD World League, obviously.
That's good. I know there are two different stages. Has Activision broken it down to you guys in any way, the prize pools per stage, or if there's a separate prize pool for stage 1 or stage 2? Are they cutting it in half, or have they talked to you about that revenue stream? And is it just the teams maybe that are getting to the finals of the COD World League for their region that are getting paid? Have they said anything to you along those lines at all?
They said that it's $150,000 per event, and I believe there's going to be 2 events in Australia, so that's $300K all up together, and then that doesn't include online competitions, etc. as well.
So when you say the events, $150,000 per event, there's only getting one LAN event per season then?
Yeah, per stage, yeah.
Okay. And so, honestly, we haven't heard much about how the league is going to play out over the course of the year, over the course of the stage. I mean, maybe you have some information as an owner, but can you release any more information about that? How is it going to play out during the season?
Most of it's still being decided, but I believe seasons are going to be about 7 weeks long.
Yeah, 7 weeks.
And
that's just a little over 2 months.
Yeah,
or about 2 months. Okay.
It's not too bad. And then you have your mids. I think they're planning to have like a month mid-season break, and then back into it again for season 2 to qualify for Worlds.
Okay, so is all the money distributed at the end season event then? So that LAN event at the end of the season, Australia will have 8 teams in the league. Will all 8 teams be invited?
I believe so.
Okay. And so one thing that people were talking about, now there was a contract leak, or not a contract leak, but there's a leak about how Activision is running the league. And Paul, did you catch that at all? People were talking about it on Reddit a little bit, and one thing that they pointed out was that players are not supposed to be streaming their league matches, and they're not supposed to be streaming at all while league matches are going on. Now a lot of people are people read the handbook. The handbook. So that a lot of people were upset about that because one way that people make money in this industry really is stream revenue, donations, ad revenue, all that kind of stuff. So if Activision isn't paying them to be in the league, basically that's saying they're having to rely on the money distributed in the end season event. So do you know anything about all that?
I think most of that stuff, they're not streaming that, is for DDoS protection, as I know they're going really heavy on that.
Because that was an issue previously in the MLG Pro League.
Yeah, they're really going heavy on anti-DDoS protection and all that, which is really good because I don't want to see teams lose because someone got booted offline.
I mean, that makes sense, but part of what the league also said from the handbook was that players that are not playing a league match can't stream during the league matches too. So that wouldn't DDoS statement wouldn't make sense for that part. And I understand the DDoS completely. We don't want that to happen again because that really ruined the end of the MLG Pro League last season. That was terrible. So yeah, I mean, extra precautions for that, absolutely, I'll go for it. But one thing that Dynamite is pretty adamant about, I think, is that players previously in the MLG Pro League. Now, obviously, the MLG Pro League was NA only, not European or Australian, but players were paid on a per match basis, right? So anybody participating in the league came out of the end of the season with about $1,000, I think, which is not bad just for playing. You don't have to. You can lose all your matches and still you made $1,000. Okay, so by the sounds of it, that's not the case this year.
No, I don't think so at the moment, but obviously there's still stuff in the works that I haven't been told yet. Same with the players. That might happen, but I'm pretty sure the reason why they're not letting other people in the COD League stream is to try and focus all the viewers onto that stream to increase viewership, etc. Yeah, obviously then it gives more exposure. Instead of saying if Optic streamed, everyone would be watching Optic instead of the COD World League, etc. So it gives teams fair exposure.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that does make sense, and funneling everybody into the mainstream. Okay, there's always the idea of ad revenue in there too, and maybe that'll be. What do they do with that ad revenue, and how much are they actually making? I don't really know. But Dynamite posted into the chat just now a link to Reddit. It was a post, but Creeper, I think you can post links. So if you want to post any links leading to screenshots of that handbook that was leaked, I think you're free to do so. I haven't got a chance to look at it either because when I saw it on Reddit, they had taken down the link apparently, so I never got a chance to read it. I just basically heard through word of mouth what other people read. Paul, what do you have to say about all that?
I'm going to ask both you guys a question real quick because this irritates me, right? But I want you guys' opinion on it. I'm pretty direct with what I say and how I have to say it. How is the COD World League streaming the online matches any different than when Puckett and Benson were sitting in New York City streaming the online matches as far as DDoSers or boot kickers go? How is it any different?
You mean okay, go ahead.
It's more of precautions the players are making. Instead of using Skype, they're using TS. They're giving different accounts everywhere that they can't get IPs from the PlayStation servers. That TS is all randomized TS servers that COD World League give, and it's just crazy like that. They're being forced to reset their net before matches.
So there's basically a list of rules now that the players are being assigned by Activision. This is what you're going to do to prevent this. Just like we had during the MLG World League when all that came about and the players' IP addresses got out there and they were getting booted. It was the same people all the time, every night, no different, right? So now basically Activision's saying, you're going to take these steps. What are they saying if these are the steps we're giving you to take if you still get booted? Are they giving repercussions? I know in that handbook it talked a lot about major penalties, minor penalties for being late or misconduct on Twitter and things of that nature, because Activision can hold these players to account, right, like no other league can, of course, because they're the game publisher. Are they saying that there's going to be repercussions if some of these players get stuck in that scenario where they're the same people, just like in the MLG World League, where they were the same people, same night, same day, that kept getting booted offline?
I would say so, but it'd be hard to tell, like, with proof that what's going on. They aren't following what they're saying, etc.
Okay.
If you do follow their precautions, you shouldn't be getting booted offline.
Good. I'm glad you said that. So now we have an owner of our Australian team saying, if you follow the precautions listed out by people who know anything about networks, then you shouldn't get booted offline, right? So if you're a pro player with 200,000 Twitter followers, 50,000 YouTube subscribers, and you make hundreds, if not thousands of months in streaming, you should be able to take the precautions not to get booted off of a match. Yeah. All right, we got that out of the way, Josh.
All right. Okay, so did you guys, I don't know, we're kind of, I'm not sure which.
Well, it's the thing of it,
especially, I know you had like more to say about that topic, I think.
Well, it's especially important to the fans, right, Roman? That when you guys have I know even in past league matches that we've had with Ghost or AW is a big thing with the fans is they would get irritated or frustrated when there's a team of 4 and they'd be watching one person in a stream. They know all 4 are on Skype or they're all 4 chit-chatting with each other, but for some reason the game's not starting or it's not coming along. And I saw that they had put time limits like 15 or 20 minutes, and even Creeper linked us to that where 15 or 20 minutes, you get the major penalties, and then they suspend you. Do you know if there's going to be any monetary repercussions? Did they talk about that at all, or is your team mentioned Activision saying there were any monetary repercussions?
Not that I've heard of yet, but once everything gets finalized, I'll have more information on that.
Did they tell you guys when all the information? I know we had the online qualifiers coming up in a week, 5, 6, 7 days. After the online qualifiers, did they say they just want to get the teams out of the way who are qualified? Did they give you guys another date that they're going to do a meeting or a call with you or bring you guys to a central location?
Not at the moment, but that
not yet.
Probably will change. Yeah.
Okay. And Activision's keeping a hold of you guys all through Skype or email. How does that process go?
Yeah, they got our email and Skype as well.
Excellent. Is there somebody in Australia, like a specific head that you guys direct questions to, or a head of the Australian CWL that may be different than the COD World League in general, just for you guys' region?
We mostly contact in Australia. It's either going to be Mikester or Vans, which both are in ASL.
Okay, well that makes it easier for you guys, doesn't it? Now let me ask you another question. This may be a little out of the blue, right? Let's say MLG, UMG, and Gfinity host some COD events this year, right? Let's say they do a big open event in New York, or they do an open event in London, or they do an open event in Dallas. How likely are these Australian teams, now that they're in the COD World League and they know they have money in hand, to spend the money on travel and hotel to go to other international events?
I know for myself that if that offer came along, I would try everything I could do to get my team over there to practice and see how they go against the best in the world. Other organisations, I wouldn't be able to obviously know what their plans are, but I know what Skyfire wants to do. So
good, that's good. So your organization looks at that as an opportunity, not just to be content, but to further compete and maybe try to win some other prize money, etc. I hope you guys get that opportunity. We'll see in the near future. I think the COD World League in Australia is an excellent opportunity for you guys down there to know you have some money in your scene. I don't know per se if it's going to grow the Australian scene from the ground up, right? But you had more viewers than you ever had before, and now you have 32 players that are going to be on the COD World League stream every night. Do you guys have current sponsors you like to give a shout out to, or current sponsors that you have for your team you'd like people to visit?
Our sponsors are Turtle Beach, Armor Centrum, OCD Jerky, which is an Australian company, and Con Computers, which is also another Australian company. Really handy, really help us out a lot. I'd like to thank them all for their support throughout the season and the year ahead.
So I had one question. Sorry, Paul, you had something else?
No, go ahead, bud.
I was going to ask about, competition against, outside of Australia, because so it really seems like the only international event still will be the COD Champs at the end of the year. Now, instead of being in February or March, it's going to be I guess it would be October, right before the new game comes out, right? Something along those lines, at least. Do you think that there's going to be these open events that teams are going to travel to? And Riot has strict controls on their teams. I think in League of Legends, where they're not supposed to be attending basically these non-Riot events, right? Do you think Activision would have anything against teams traveling to an open or an invitational Gfinity event in London? Like they've had those events in the past where Gfinity invites Australian teams, European teams, and NA teams to have like an 8-team invitational tournament. Do you think those things are going to happen again this year?
I think it's definitely a possibility. I don't think Activision will have a problem with it as long as it doesn't interrupt their intentions on what they want to do.
Yeah.
With
they can't
the
overlap or
season.
something, yeah.
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 Okay. Understand. Okay. So do you have anything else you'd like to say? I think that we're going to get to the end of this segment in a minute, unless Paul has any other questions. But
I appreciate all Roman's insight. I've probably learned more about the Australian scene in 20 minutes than I knew the 2 years before. So it's a thing of we're always open, especially with new personalities. Like I said, get your team out there and your players. I hope they do well on YouTube and connect with their fans. You never know when another personality like a Nate Shot or a Scump or a Clayster or somebody like that or a Sensor will pop up within you guys' community and hopefully shine some light on it. You guys are doing a great job, especially with your defeat of Mindfreak at the qualifiers. That was excellent. Keep up the hard work.
Cheers. Thank you for having me on here.
Absolutely. All right. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to let Roman go, and we're going to bring on a new guest in just a few minutes. So stick around, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. Thank you for watching.